Mhm.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone, and Kirsty, it's great to be with you and to have you on this broadcast or the podcast. Today we're going to carry on this the teachings that I've been teaching on grid keeping, and to give people a better understanding of the Earth's grids and stargates and Q sites and what they are. And perhaps to understand the Stargate systems are portals that connect one energy field to another energy field. And it works pretty much the same as telephone exchange or cell phone exchange systems, where there's somebody instigating a call and the person receiving the call is the destination. And the number used and the cell phone used by the caller is transmitted through the system, and if that person calls or gives a number they want to connect to, so they then put these two people in touch with each other and they're able to converse with each other. So it's the energy, the movement of the thoughts and the words of the caller to the callee. And so they have this exchange of energy, in a sense, in an energetic sense. And the Stargate system works pretty much the same way, in that the caller has a specific identity and the callee has a specific identity. So the instigator must give the identity of the space that they want to go through. And so the stargates are like the portal system, the exchange system, that what it does, it interrogates the caller identity, and it does that through the caller's soul codes. Now, in our soul bodies, we have soul codes, which is our real identity, because our soul codes hold our entire history from first incarnation as a self-aware incarnate that has a long history that is incorporated into our soul codes. And so all our history and who we are is our soul identity. And that is the unique identity that the stargates interrogate when you want to go from one place to another. So you enter the portal and you connect with another portal in some other place. And so that's why last week we dealt with the authenticity and integrity of our souls, and how grid keeping requires us to be in full authenticity and integrity with ourselves, because that is our caller signature, our caller identity. It identifies us to the universe as to who we are. And if we are being someone else, or trying to be someone else, or not acting and behaving and thinking and emoting in integrity and authenticity, the universe doesn't recognize us. And this whole system of separation from the universe goes back a long way in history, to 26,000 years ago, when the Earth experienced what was called the fall. And that was the fall from grace, where the fallen ones used certain mechanism. They created a ring fence around Earth called the black slate technologies, which is a technology. It was just like a jamming radar device that they set up through various portals. It started in Saturn, transmitted to Jupiter. From Jupiter went to Mars, and from Mars to our moon, and from our moon it got broadcast. So it kind of was acted like a jamming device, so that the frequencies that we use to connect with to the universe were jammed, and so we lost our identity as humans, but we still have that soul identity in our soul bodies, in our soul codes. Our soul codes represent who we really are. And so people on the earth, they tend to identify themselves as these physical manifest beings, cellular beings, who have a certain birth date and a certain death date, and in between they experience a physical reality without identity, and they lose their soul identity. And their soul identity is a structure that was used to manifest their soul being into existence. Now, when Earth was seeded, the third seeding 245,000 years ago, they wanted the angelic beings, the Rishi beings, wanted to create what they called the jewel of the universe, where they wanted to incorporate the best of the best of what was in the universe in our universe. There are multiverses, but for this purpose, let's think of this as just our universe. So they collected a whole bunch of DNA from other beings. But our DNA, it's not just physical DNA. Our DNA is also part of our soul codes. Our soul codes create our DNA. And because everything that is in our soul is manifest as our physical bodies. So when they created this this species they called them the human angelics, and their purpose was to be guardians of the grids of the earth. And so our original purpose here was to be the grid keepers and to keep the grids intact in order to run the energy from the universe through the Earth's grids and through the populations of the Earth. And by populations, I don't just mean human populations, I mean in all the species here, including microbials, elementals, vegetables, bird, avian, fish, animal, and human. And so we lost our soul identity. Now we lost it because our connection with our soul codes was broken. So we no longer understand that we are soul beings and we have great powers as soul beings, and we have great powers as angelic beings because we represent beings from many, many other time-space continuum and many other dimensions. So we held certain frequency abilities in the energy sense that we were placed as the guardians of the Earth's grids. We lost that in 26,000 BC, approximately, and where this frequency fence was created around Earth, and we lost our ability to think, speak, and feel like angelic humans. And so we became the form that we are now, is just the manifest cellular human beings. But I'll get more into this in the course that I'm going to be doing next year, that I'm going to call the Templar Mechanics, and understanding how Templar mechanics works. Now, I just briefly, I'll give you an introduction into that. If you think of the grid lines as being a toroid, and a toroid has positive and negative electrons flowing through it. So it's positive electrons and negative neutrons. And they are spinning in opposite directions around this toroidal field of energy. So that's one toroid, how it works. Then the time matrix, as it's called, is if you can imagine 12 toroids within toroids. So to not to kind of blow people's minds. If you think of these toroids on an axle or axis coming out from each other, and you get toroid 1, toroid 2, toroid 3, toroid 4, toroid 5, toroid 6, all the way to 12 toroids. And each toroid, the toroid 1 is, say, set on 1 degree, and then toroid 2 is 2 degrees, and toroid 3 is 3 degrees, and toroid 4 is 4 degrees. And each degree has 60 seconds. Okay, and those 60 seconds have 60 microseconds. So I won't go into all that. But if you can just now, when the universe was created, it was created as a whole, where every part of each element or each energy field connects to other energy fields. So toroid 1 and 2 have a certain relationship. And you can say toroid 1 represents our potential timeline, and toroid 2 represents our probability timeline, and toroid 3 represents our possibility timeline. And so as this kind of clockwork works, it's called the procession and precession of the stars. So, and it's how timelines are created, and timelines are just experiences that we have in certain lives and in timelines. But we actually have all those possibilities at once.
Yeah, I was about to say, but are they really separate? They're not, are they?
Yeah. And
yeah.
in quantum physics, it's a fact that's often spoken about. Many scientists have talked about it. That all space is in the same space and all time is at the same time. And this is how it works. Because the difference between future time and past time is only a matter of degree of consciousness. And that degree of consciousness represents the energy that we are producing. Okay, so when I was taught this, I was taught this for the purpose of being able to go through the dimensional structures of the universe and go into other dimensional time-space continuums. And I was taught certain techniques and certain the techniques were just about, being authentic in integrity, having the right intention, setting my intentions correctly, being humble, within the space that there is no differences in the universe. We are all one thing. We are all contained in this toroidal field of energy, but we all have different individuated experiences within that time-space continuum. And so when I had to go through the time-space continuums, I had to go through different layers, frequency layers. So I had to understand that to go into a higher frequency, you have to have a higher potential. To have a higher potential, you have to have thoughts and emotions that represent higher standards and values. That sets your potential. Your probability is set by how you keep those standards and values intact, and how you express them in the way you speak and the way you act with others and with yourself. And then the timelines of possibility are your attitudes towards that's expressed to other people and to the universe. And one of those attitudes is the attitude of grace and acceptance and love of all the beings as being an expression of the one thing, that there is no differences between, there's no hierarchy in the echelons of time and space, because we are all on a journey into a future timeline that converges at a certain point. Now, that convergence happens as these toroids click over 1 degree at a time. They get to a point in time where timeline toroid 12 reaches the 12 o'clock position in this clock. So it sets up into the 0 point. And when it sets up into that 0 point, it's the timeline 1 is 12 degrees behind it. If you can understand that toroid 1 is 1 degree, toroid 2 is 2 degrees, 3 degrees. So the difference between toroid 12 and toroid 1 is 12 degrees. So at the 12 degree position that the toroid 12 reaches, the toroid 1 is at the position of 62, 48. And at the 48th degree, Earth goes into what they call, or the toroid 1 goes into what is called an acceleration of time. And because when toroid 1 reaches the 12 o'clock position, it reaches what is called the reset position. And that's why this word reset is being adopted here by the fallen ones to represent a reset in financial and monetary systems and so on. But it's actually a reset of consciousness. And then the whole, and at that point, you get what is called the 0 point in time. And when the 0 point in time is reached, that then the Earth opens up to the galactic central sun, through the solar system, through the sun, to the Earth. This energy permeates through, and everything is reset. And at that point, the reset allows beings to ascend into higher levels of consciousness. And what it does, normally, it opens up all the stargates. Now, on Earth, there are different kinds of stargates. There are what they're called Earth stargates. And then you get to the solar stargates, which is our solar system, the galactic stargates, and the universal stargates. But they're all connected to each other in this kind of toroidal time matrix system that works at degrees and seconds relative to each other. And so when that 0 point is reached, the stargates open, the Q sites are activated, and the Q sites used to be activated by the angelic humans who were here and had the soul codes that could activate the Q sites in order to open the stargates. And so the stargates would open and the portals would be opened, and humans could then enter the stargates. Their identity or the soul signature was read into the system, and then the system would transport them to wherever their destination was intended. And so people could move from one point on Earth to another point in Earth to a Stargate site. And that Stargate site was then also, the Stargates are all guarded by the Guardians because they're sacred sites. What I mean by that sacred site, because if that system was abused, it would actually destroy the soul templates of whatever beings going in. So if you try to fool the Stargates and enter as a non-authentic and being of low integrity, you would not reach your destination, and your soul template would be shattered, and then you'd be transported to the black hole system, and then you would have to enter a new evolution of soul cycles. So the whole structure is designed to maintain the authenticity and integrity of the entire system. So that's how big this notion of authenticity and integrity goes, because it means not only to be authentic and in integrity towards each other as human beings, but also to the animal life, the fish life, the bird life, the plant life, the insect life, the elementals, the microbials, and to honor each other in this holistic system of soul integration, soul evolution, soul development, and this. So there are many individuated souls within a great big soul, if I can call it that. The universe just represents the energy field of the I am, and everything within that I am system has the same identity as the great I am. So when you say I am, and if you are who you say you are, and if you do and speak as you say you are, then there is a kind of convergence of energy in the universe. And now imagine those grid lines as this clock ticking, and each of those grid lines represent a different time-space continuum. And when I say space, so moving from one place in the universe to another place, you move from one space-time continuum to another space-time. So it's a different space. So it has a destination signature. And on Earth, there are 12 stargates, and I'll just read them out to people so we know who they are. But these are the Earth stargates, and I won't go into the solar stargates and galactic and universal stargates. But on Earth, you get the Stargate 1, which is the Antarctica, the South Pole. Its coordinates are 85.3 degrees, 22 degrees west and 75 degrees south. So you can actually go and find those coordinates on the map. Then Stargate 2 is Sarasota, Florida, which is 83.5 degrees west and 27.3 degrees north. And then the third Stargate is in the Bermuda Islands, which is 65.3 degrees west and 32 degrees north. And then you get the Stargate 4, which is Cairo, Giza, Egypt. It's 31.5 east, 30 degrees north. Stargate 5 is Machu Picchu, Peru, which is 33 degrees west and 12.3 degrees south. You get Stargate 6, which is near Moscow, Russia, which is 37 degrees east and 65.3 degrees north. Stargate 7, Lake Titicaca, Peru, 69.8 west, 15.5 south. Stargate 8, Xi'an, China, 108 degrees south, 0.5 degrees east, 34.3 degrees north. Stargate 9, Bam So Hello, which is in Tibet, which is 92 degrees east and 32 degrees north. Stargate 10 is Abidan, Iran, which is 49 degrees east and 30.8 degrees north. And then you get the Vale of Stargate 11, Vale of Pewsey, England, 1.9 degrees west and 51.5 degrees north. You get Stargate 12, which is Monsignor in France, which is 1.8 degrees east and 42.8 degrees north. Now, I'll list those in my notes to this video. So if you go back and watch it, you can find all of those there. But I'm going to end here, but just to understand that timelines and grids are all really and dimensions are all connected to each other, and represent each other. And so our chakras, we have the same grid structure within our physical bodies. And so our physical bodies are connected to our soul bodies are connected to the Earth's grids are connected to the solar grids are connected to the galactic grids, and the galactic grids are connected to the universal grids. And it works in a system of design, the universal template, which is what Templar mechanics is all about, is how the system works. So if you look at those coordinates, you will find that there are certain lines going through the different stargates, and they're all connected to each other. So yeah, that's a kind of introduction into advanced grid work.
Easy, yeah.
But it's a kind of meatier understanding, because what I've said so far in other is what I call the hors d'oeuvres. When you started getting into the main course, it gets a little tricky. So I hope I've given you some enlightenment. Yeah, and when I first heard this information, I had to do a lot of work myself, homework, and go and actually look at where these stargates were, understand the multidimensional structure of the universe, understand how time, space, and timelines work. And it's because we live in a unified field. Each part of the field is represented by the other parts. So yeah, it's a very complex kind of thing. But human thinking tends to be fragmented. So we think in little bits, pockets of information, and it's extending your consciousness to understand that there is a much bigger picture that we all have to understand. So I'm going to love and leave you there, but I don't know if you want to do another meeting next Thursday, which is the 22nd. I don't know if it's just before Christmas and people are usually busy this time of the year. So let's make that a date, and then if you need to change it, that's fine, because we'll just carry on after Christmas and New Year, because this is the silly season. Okay. Love and light to you, my dear one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.